Hello and welcome to the Snooker podcast, episode 9. This is the first podcast post World Championship, and we now know the results.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
Hello, welcome to Cueless.
Ben's got a bit of a cold.
Apologies for my husky and I'm gonna say it, sexy voice.
It is. It's pretty sexy.
I think it's a mixture of it's a cold, and I've not chain smoked a pack of 40 Marlboro Reds.
Yeah, nice.
So apologies
Good luck with that.
For that, but yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna do his best with this pod, but I might take over the majority of the talking.
I'm gonna use the phrase "soldiering on."
Soldiering on. He's soldiering on.
I've got a mug of hot squash.
They would not let you in the army. I think, what, are you 4'9"?
I beg your fucking pardon. Well, I had this a couple of weeks ago where I had to go to the hospital and they asked me how tall I was. And I said I said I think I'm 5'5".
Think.
And they did
Keyword think.
They did question that.
Yeah. You actually, sausage dogs used to be used to like find bombs and stuff in little holes. You auditioned for that role in the war, didn't you? Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I did in the war. Yeah.
Anyway, unless you've been living under a rock, you've probably seen that Zhao Xintong won the World Championships.
Yes, the first.
How did you feel?
Our first world champion from Asia.
Yeah, that feels like a big deal.
That feels significant.
It feels significant. It's been coming for a long time. We had Ding in 2016, got to the final. Well, since about then, really.
Yeah.
9 years in the making.
Yeah, I mean, I think a couple of weeks ago, I expressed an opinion that I thought if you're involved in match fixing, that's it. I've got to admit, my opinion about Zhao Xintong in that context has changed.
I was going to ask this. Has your opinion on him since seeing interviews with him changed? Because mine has.
Yeah, it has, and I don't think I really knew the full exactly what he was involved in.
Yeah, I think mine. Yeah, go on.
He'd never thrown a match.
No.
What he did was he was betting on matches that he knew were fixed, and
I actually don't even know if it was that. The only thing that I've read is that he knew about it. He didn't. Well, he knew about stuff that was going on. He probably did as well.
There was betting as well because John Higgins was banned for 6 months for
I know,
knowing about it and not. Anyway, we won't get into that. But yeah, I think it would have been such a shame if he had received a really significant ban like some other players had, because my God, he can play snooker.
Jesus Christ, he can play snooker. Not that bold a statement. No one really got close to him the whole tournament, and I mean the whole tournament.
No, yeah.
Literally, no one really worried him at any point.
Yeah.
He didn't have the toughest draw, but he definitely did have the toughest semi-final and final you could really wish for. So, Mark Williams playing that well, he just beat the number one player in the world, who beat Luca Brissell in prime form. So I don't think he also beat Ronnie O'Sullivan, and it wasn't a 100% Ronnie O'Sullivan, but it was still Ronnie O'Sullivan. So I think he proved himself on the biggest stage. And he is now. This is the other controversy. There's a new controversy about Zhao Xintong now. The match fixing stuff is a thing of the past, and I didn't really think that I thought the ban was fair, but also people make mistakes, and they are worth the same.
Hazel Irvin summed it up well. She said, "He's made a mistake. We all make mistakes. He's paid the price for it."
Yeah, he has. He could be 3-time world champion by now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he's not. He's still world champion, and that no one can ever take that away from him. And he deserved it, man. He played awesome.
By a distance, I'd say the best player of the tournament.
Massively.
Never. I think. Well, as soon as the final started, he never ever looked like losing it.
No.
Mark put a bit of a fight back up in that last session. It was quite entertaining to start with, but I think after Mark's performance in the first two sessions, I never felt like the comeback was realistic. Really, I think he was always going to give Zhao an opening to go in and win the match. Yeah,
I think Mark Williams just getting to the final is.
It's unbelievable.
Absolutely astounding. Like, for someone that... Also, I didn't know. He wasn't wearing contacts.
No, I didn't realise until after the semi-final.
So he basically, when he got through to the final, he went into the studio and was chatting and stuff. And he said, I had the decision to make. And obviously Lee Walker, his coach, he said he did a few days with contacts, he did a few days without, and they just decided to go without.
Yeah,
and just sort of trust instinct. So he was basically playing half, not blind, but like his sight. He said he couldn't even see the scoreboard. Like he had to look up to a different scoreboard to see what his opponent was on and stuff. So I think that is such an achievement, and obviously now puts into question whether he will go and have his eyes sorted.
Yeah. But that was incredible. No contact lenses, and he gets to the final of the World Championship.
He's up to, with that money, he's up to third in the world.
Yeah, that's like they were saying after the final that his goal was to be at the top 16 at the age of 50, and he's third in the world.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, in the World Championship final. I was having this discussion with my family as we were watching the final, and the general consensus was that Judd Trump would have probably given Zhao a more of a game in the final.
It was probably the wrong final, wasn't it? Yeah.
But Mark Williams won that match fair and square.
Yeah.
If your aunt had balls, she'd be your uncle, but she doesn't, so she's not. It's that kind of thing.
He really did win that match over Judd Trump. And also Judd Trump, again, I said it before, he is such a gracious loser in the best way possible.
And a very gracious winner. I disagree.
As well. Yeah, very gracious. I know there's a Stephen Hendry quote that I've brought this up before. I don't like it. He says, "Show me a good loser, and I'll show you a loser." And I don't disagree
like that
completely
at all. I think
I don't.
Show me a good loser. Show me a very gracious, lovely man.
Yeah, and he's such a nice guy. And he said he didn't really feel like he did anything wrong. He just said, if Mark's going to play like that, I'm going to struggle against him. And I can remember one or two misses where you sort of think he probably should have got that in, but one or two, it wasn't every frame. It was just the fact Mark Williams just played fantastic, he really did, and it was really nice to see him do well again, because we're both obviously quite big Mark Williams fans. So just talking about the rankings,
classic Willow moments in that.
It was Willow Momos.
There was a moment.
Yeah, it was really good.
It nearly went to the wrong seat.
Oh.
There was the bit where he jokingly declared the yellow ball.
Yeah.
It was Willow. It was Willow galore.
Yeah, it was Willow galore. And just speaking of the rankings, so Mark Williams, quite a big. Well, I think he was 5th or 6th, so he's up to 3rd. There's a few big jumps here. So I know why you're here. You're here for the rankings updates, guys. The biggest jump is from outside of the world's 128 to 11th in the world. Yeah. That's the controversial thing. That is what people are a little bit annoyed about. In the rules, I am a little bit unsure about what the WST rules are. Apparently, it has always been in the rules that if someone, because basically Zhao Xintong, because of his ban, was technically an amateur, but he qualified as the best qualifier from Q School, and then obviously got through from first round of the qualifying of the World Champs, and then went the whole way. So the amount of games he actually won to win the World Championship is crazy. But what the people's uproar is that they didn't know that he was actually going to keep... Obviously, he gets the prize money, but they didn't know it would count as ranking money. So just 500 grand alone puts you at 11th in the world. And also 4th in the one-year rankings as well.
Yeah, so,
I don't have a problem with that.
I don't understand what the point of that argument is. Well, we didn't know. I was like, well...
Basically, the point is, it isn't very clear, and they have...
I was a bit confused about it as well, because my dad's a big golf fan, and he pointed out that I think it was Justin Rose when he won a major as an amateur. He didn't get any of the prize money
on his ranking.
Yeah, so
yeah.
I'd think
I'm not
it's
saying
different
obviously
with snooker, obviously, but yeah.
Yeah, I think people kind of thought that he would still. Obviously, he has a tour card for next year, regardless.
Yeah,
because I've dropped my pen. He has a tour card for next year, regardless. But I think people were sort of expecting him to still have to earn his way back up the rankings. But I would argue he has by winning the World Championship. Yeah.
What else do you want?
If you're gonna. I know, yeah, exactly.
You've got to earn your way up the rankings, but not by winning the World Championship.
I know, it's silly. But anyway, he's going to be back.
Do you know what that argument is, Isaac? That argument is thick and stupid.
Thick and stupid. You want to know someone else that said something slightly... Well, it wasn't thick and stupid. Dennis Taylor and Sean Murphy on commentary. And Dennis Taylor says when he was basically clearing up to win the match, or he was looking very good, said... people should really pay attention to this guy. People are going to know who this guy is now. This is a new star. And Sean Murphy went, well, not really. He won the UK champs 3
Well, that was and he was thing. They were saying a lot beforehand about how, Zhao's never been in this situation before. And so, well, he has. He's won a Triple Crown event before.
Yeah, he's won a Triple Crown. Yeah. He's one away from all 3 Triple Crowns. If he wins the Masters next year, he's won all 3.
He's a Triple Crown.
But yeah, anyway, that also frustrated me because Zhao Xintong has been around for a while.
Yeah.
Just what I feel like what Dennis was saying was in the UK maybe, but also he won the UK champs. So if anything, we should know who he is more than any other country.
As snooker fans, I think we were very familiar with who he was.
Oh no, I knew. He's a big name in snooker. Obviously, he's had some stories about him, famous and infamous. Anyway, other stories in the rankings, some good, some bad. Selby's down to 7th, and he was 3rd, so that's a little bit of a drop for someone of his standard. Ding is up to 6th. I don't know why. I couldn't figure that one out. I think a lot of people have lost. I think people got to the semis and stuff, and then did obviously Selby went out in the first round. Yeah. And then there's 2 which are strange. So Chris Wakelin's up into the top 16 for the first time, fully deserved.
Excellent. Yeah.
Yeah, he had a really good championship. And I'll obviously be a little disappointed, but also I think anyone, including Jack Jones, I was thinking about this, anyone that lost to Zhao Xintong at any point must be thinking well, to be fair.
Yeah.
Do you know, Jack Jones got demolished by him in the first round, and I reckon he wished, he was thinking I hope he wins it because it makes me look a little better.
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, but there's we've spoken about Jack Jones before, whereby the only reason why he was in the top 16 was because he got to a final last year.
But also, we'll get onto some of the stuff in a bit. The biggest story in the rankings, apart from maybe Zhao Xintong, is that Luca Bracel is now 39th in the world.
Yeah.
I can't think of a better player I've ever seen in the last since I've followed snooker.
Yeah.
That I can't think of a better player that has been that far out of the top 16. Yeah. He's not even close. He's not even the top 32.
It's
and also not just someone that was good.
He's a remarkable player. In the sense that he's a true bad boy in the sense that he doesn't follow any of the rules.
No.
The year he won the World Championship, he practiced for a quarter of an hour before the tournament.
It's mad. We've talked about Bracel enough, but I do think if he sticks around that sort of ranking and qualifies for the World Championship, he will be next year. He will be the last person any of the top 16 want.
Yeah,
because he's the only person outside of the top 32 that is genuinely a contender for anything.
Yeah.
In everything, he could easily win any tournament, anytime, if he just kind of decided he was interested. Something I'd like to mention, I was listening back to the pod on Spotify last week, the last week's pod, just because I like to check everything's okay. And I didn't add these if anyone spotted them. On Spotify, it gives you subtitles. On YouTube where you can put in this is where you can skip through and it tells you what topic you're talking about. But the thing that intrigued me the most is I didn't add them. So it was Spotify's AI generated topics, and here's what they were.
Go on.
So you can remember last week's pod. These are the topics throughout. Intro. Nailed it.
Yeah.
Isaac the Wrecking Ball. Liverpool win 20th English League title.
Yes, we did.
Predictions.
I've got my Champions mug today, but
very nice. Good for you.
This is from the 19th league title. I've not got my 20th yet.
All right, okay. Subtle brag. And then some of them are really spot on. Mark Selby versus Chris Wakelin. They didn't play each other.
No,
we'll go with it. Luca Purcell and Ding Jun.
Ding Jun.
This one baffles me. Brazil versus England. Mark Williams versus...
That'd be Brazil.
Yeah, it must be Brazil, yeah.
Versus...
But it's taken the Brazil and ran with it. There's some amazing ones at the end, by the way. The last two are stunning. Mark Williams versus John Higgins. Yeah. Zhao Xintong versus Chris Wakelin. Well done. They got that one right.
Yeah.
147's at the Crucible. They nailed that one.
Yeah.
147 Makers as a different thing. So, again, these are the two. Gorilla haircuts. And the last one is honestly amazing. Awkward horse meetings. Really enjoyed just flicking through and seeing what AI thought we were talking about.
What's the most awkward horse meeting you've ever had?
I'm not sure I've had an awkward...
Have you ever met a horse?
I've met a lot of horses.
It's because you were meeting horses last week, wasn't
it? And I was talking about it being a bit awkward, so they're not wrong. Yeah. It just made me laugh that that's how it had summed it up. I love Gorilla Haircut. It's at one, awesome band name. But two, like, how it got that. I think someone mentioned something gorilla, and then we were talking about haircuts, and it's just gone like, I see what's happening here. It's Gorilla Haircut. But I'll report back on what next week's are.
Yeah, I'd love to hear about
we next should week. Just say random words every now and then to see if it puts them in. Like, I'll just say the word blancmange about 4 times throughout this and see
I think I've mentioned that I'm drinking hot squash at least 3 times already. So I might just keep throwing hot squash in. It's
Hot Squash.
Hot Squash, I think, is a good band name.
It is. It probably already is a band name. You know, most of them are taken.
If they are, I don't know why I've not listened to any.
That's why you have a band name like my band. If you just guarantee that.
Go on, plug it.
Plug it. Misty and the Motherlode. Go and fill your boots. Misty and the Motherlode. I've got a load of questions for you.
Yeah.
And this is the main topic of the pod. We're going to talk about this for the next however long. There were a lot of points.
There is a band called Hot Squash on Spotify.
No,
there's a song. There's a song called Hot Squash by a band called Pulled Apart by Horses.
No.
And I'm adding that to my like songs. There we go.
Pulled Apart by Horses. They're getting a little shout out. The shout out they never thought they needed on a snooker podcast.
We'll clip that up and tag them in it and see.
Yeah, they'll love that.
Yeah. Go on, you've got questions for me.
Yeah, I've got a load of questions. There was a few interviews. They were interviewing Sean Murphy, Neil Robertson, Barry Hawkins, and Mark Selby. They were the 4 interviewees, and there was a load of questions sort of posed at them. Yeah. And it was their opinion, and also our own opinion.
Very interesting.
Very, very interesting, and it really is quite amusing, the 4 different opinions. So basically, Sean Murphy, with the history of him, he was the chairman of the WPBSA Players Association, and basically every single controversial opinion or thing that, like, you know, there's a lot of things in snooker, like, for example, should the ball be white, the cue ball, or should it have spots on it? Like, he will always pick, like, the most radical option. Yeah. And I appreciate that. I think it's needed in the sport. And I think if he wasn't doing it, you know, he has to go so far past the line and maybe things will change a little bit. But it's really funny because you've got Sean Murphy, who's, like, just absolutely has these radical ideas and he's, like, quite extreme. Mark Selby is about as on the fence as you can be.
Yeah.
Barry Hawkins is against everything.
Is very, very sort of conservative in his...
Yeah, he's quite right-wing in his snooker views. And then, the voice of reason...
I feel like if he was given the chance, Barry Hawkins would use the phrase, game's gone, at least.
Yeah, no, Barry Hawkins would have, like, everything reverted back to how it was in the 80s, if he could.
You'd suggest the idea of video replays, so he'd call it utter woke nonsense.
Honestly, you should. But we'll read out. I've got all of his quotes down because some of them are hilarious. But the voice of reason, and genuinely, I mean this in the nicest possible way I can say it, is Neil Robertson. And I genuinely, if he's not thought about it, there is a vacancy that I'm aware, and I think he would be the most amazing chairman of the Players Association.
Yeah,
because he has
very
he has
diplomatic,
the views,
very realistic.
Yeah. That's the thing. He's so realistic with all of the things, and like basically the questions I'm asking are stuff that are a little bit taboo within like the snooker community. Stuff about moving from the Crucible, stuff about the format, stuff about the dress code. So like, right, first off, should it move from the Crucible?
No.
Yeah, I agree. It shouldn't, but also it should. Something needs to give, though. I do think.
Yeah, I don't. They talk about it all the time. The thing they talk about most is if you move to a bigger venue, it would give the World Championships more. I don't know what the word would be. More credence, more value, because the prize money would increase. And when you're competing against events in like Riyadh, they did this year. They've done the last couple of years. When you're competing against prize money in those areas of the world, then the World Championship, the argument is it's going to lose its credibility, I suppose.
Yeah. I personally really dislike the fact that there is another tournament that you can win 500 grand at.
I just think that's a flaw on the part of the World Snooker Tour.
It totally undermines the World Championship.
Yeah.
Actually, it's not even. You can win $1.5 million there. If you won the tournament and made a 167 at the same time, you'd win $1.5 million.
I don't think that's right. I think the highest
three
prize
times
should
the
always
amount.
Be the most prestigious tournament, and the most prestigious tournament in snooker has always been, and will always be the World Championships. And
Sean Murphy, I don't say this very often, made a really good point. And he made the point about something else, but it actually, basically, this is a really good point. And I actually think this would be the biggest problem. And it annoys me that it would be a problem. If they moved it, right, hypothetically, it's 2028 and it's, the Crucible, and we've moved it to China. And Zhao Xintong, let's say Li Paifan wins his first World Championship, right? Li Paifan never won, he wins his first World Championship in China. There would be an asterisk next to his name that said he didn't win it at the Crucible, though, did he?
Was that his argument? I thought his argument was about changing the format of the
that was
tournament.
The format thing, but I think it stands for the actual venue as well. I think the snooker...
does, doesn't it? Yeah.
So his point was about the actual format. So there's another question, which was, should they shorten the format? So the best of 35 stuff. What do you think about that?
I get what. Well, I sort of get what Sean Murphy's saying in terms of if you take the World Cup as an example.
Yeah.
In the World Cup, apart from the winner, the reigning champion, every single team has to go through qualifying in order.
Yeah, so this is a separate point of his. He said it's totally weird. It makes a mockery of the tour, and it's not a fair test. Previous champs have passed that test, and to change that now, all new champs would have an asterisk next to their name. I actually agree with him, but he was saying that the mockery thing is about.
I don't think it is weird. The way he describes
the top 16.
But the top 16, because what he described as weird was that not all players start in the same round.
I totally disagree with him with this. I
don't think that's weird at all.
Yeah, no, it's not weird. It's not weird that the top 16 start later on.
That's the case with the champions. Going back to football as an analogy, that's the case for the Champions League. The top 4 teams in the Premier League will qualify. Other teams can then get into the group stage of a Champions League by winning qualifying matches.
No, it's the same in a lot in the IPL, the cricket IPL. You basically, if you come first or second in the group, basically you get 2 attempts to get through to the final. Do you know what I mean? because you've earned. Yeah, so basically, if you lose your first match, you then get another game against third or fourth to try and, because you earned the right. In darts, if you're seeded in the top, I think it's 32. You get basically a bye through to the second round. It's not weird.
Yeah.
And it isn't a mockery of the tour.
What?
And it is a fair test.
Yeah, and what I do think they could do better in terms of the qualifiers is A, make them easier to watch, and B, I think if you put it in a small venue, people would pay money to go and watch the qualifiers.
Totally agree.
And by doing that, you can then raise the prize money.
Yeah. Neil Robertson, again, the voice of reason, said, this is in terms of the format we're talking about now.
Yeah.
He says, basically, the year before, last year, he was a pundit because he didn't qualify, did he?
Yeah.
And he said he watched it, and it was, obviously he commentated on it, and it was it was an ordinary standard of snooker, which drags on a bit. It was tired snooker, and that the players are tired.
Yeah, what I agree with watching that was that I think matches do go on to. I don't think there's any reason why the second round matches should be longer than the first round.
Yeah, I totally agree. So the first round's best of 19, second round's best of 25.
Event, is it?
No.
Or it shouldn't be an endurance event.
I agree with you.
I think going from a semi-final over 3 days to a final over 2 days is mad.
Weird.
So I think shortening the matches is a lot better. I like the fact that the finals are longer, a best of 35.
Yeah.
Because it does make a bit more of an occasion out of it. They can sell more tickets because there's 4 sessions. It means that if you like Mark Williams did dramatically lose for first session, you're not out of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I do enjoy that, but I think the matches beforehand could be a lot shorter.
Also, Sean Murphy said he doesn't agree that players are burnt out by the time they get to the Crucible.
Yeah, and also if you have shorter matches, you could maybe increase the number of qualifiers.
Yeah.
And have the World Championship as a bigger event, because that sort of bit like what Sean Murphy was saying.
The reason everyone likes the Darts World Championship is because everyone on the tour is in it, basically.
Yeah.
And they have a qualifier from India. They have a qualifier from all parts of the country, literally everywhere, and they're all in the World Championship, and they all get their moment with their walk on. They all get that.
I do think the World Championship would benefit from not from every single player on the tour, and plus amateur qualifiers starting at round 1. I don't think that would benefit the World Championships at all. I think what would benefit the World Championships would be just increasing that number of qualifiers so that there are more players there, basically. But just shorten matches.
Yeah, I know. But that would be a radical move because it's so stuck in its ways. Here's another question. Should the tournament move to the middle of the season? And people will hate that idea because they like the idea of it being at the end.
I do like that.
But why?
What I like is the idea of a player going into the season as world champion.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like when going back to the World Cup again. It's like when that was held at Christmas a couple of years ago. That just felt a bit odd. Yeah.
I get that.
But
I just think from
players were sort of in the swing of things, but
yeah. But in terms of it, so what it's one of those things. It's like a sort of, what would you prefer? Would you prefer to stick to tradition and have that player go into the World Championship completely burnt out? And they are burnt out. So Barry Hawkins, I've been there before and felt totally worn out.
Yeah.
Neil Robertson says 2022 I came here completely burnt out. He said he won the World Grand Prix, he won the Players Tour, he won the Championship Tour, and by the time he'd got there he was mentally and just physically totally drained.
So, yeah, I got that, and my instant sort of reaction to him saying that is one of the solutions not just getting rid of a few of the events.
Yeah, and there should be a gap.
We spoke a bit about the Players' Championship and the Tour Championship, basically being exactly the same tournament.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no point to have two.
Scrap one of them. Scrap one of them and double the prize money. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like it really bugged me that they were the same tournament, and you could see everyone was sort of like kind of not wanting to be there because of the World Championship coming up as well. Like, come on, it was rubbish. The one in Telford, was that the Players?
Yeah.
That was... Like, it looked like a decent tournament, and then the one in Manchester really didn't have much life to it as well.
Yeah, I don't think... But, I feel a bit bad about it, but I don't think I watched a single game.
Yeah, but, like, we literally, like, enjoy the sport more than most, and we didn't watch a game. So, like, who's watching that apart from the people that are watching it live?
I just don't think... I think the only reason why people go into that is because it's in Manchester, and it's...
Yeah, that's so true.
I live in Manchester, I'm a snooker fan, I'll go and watch it. You're not watching it for the occasion. It's not like the World Championship where people travel to Sheffield for the event.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like a pilgrimage. It's just that they were kind of the right place, right time.
Yeah.
Another one. This is a big one. We're getting into the big ones now, if that's all right. Should they scrap playing for snookers?
No. I mean, that's it. I think Sean Murphy was bang up for it. He was saying like, "Oh, once the
Sean Murphy said an absolutely mental thing. He said, I've got the quote here. Unbelievable to say this, really. In darts, when they go from 501 to 0, the leg ends. So when you have enough points to win, the frame should be over. That doesn't work in the slightest.
No, not at all.
Your opponent in darts can't earn points back.
Yeah.
So like, first off, like, once it is 501 to 0, that literally is the game over. Like, there's nothing that can be done about it. The very nature of snooker means that it, like, obviously, you can get the snookers back and you can come back from a deficit.
I think there is an extent to which if a player comes back to the table needing like 5 snookers, for example, there's a point. But I think at that point, the emphasis isn't on the rules needing to change, it's on players needing to realise that.
Well, do you want to hear some other quotes
trying
about
to
this?
grind out 5 snookers is going to be detrimental to the overall viewing experience. But I think that actually playing for snookers is entertaining, it's interesting, it adds a bit of tension and drama sometimes.
Every now and then it does.
Yeah.
But not
I
very
find
often.
it interesting. I think it's a tactical side of the game which is overlooked and underappreciated.
But Ronnie O'Sullivan has said going for snookers can be exciting, but you just got to get rid of boring snooker players. Like, that's a very extreme view again.
I mean, it's an extreme view, but it's a bit like what I was saying about people coming back to the table when it's really
just
there's
no. You know, in the
point
first frames of the matches where they were coming back, and it's like literally they just want some table time. Yeah. That's a joke.
I think that is a bit silly.
Neil Robertson put I personally think this is quite a good view. Put a timer on it, 5 minutes. Can't get them by then. Start a new frame. I've come to the table. Needing 5 snookers, thinking you never know. It shouldn't be like that. It's not entertaining.
I don't mind that. I'm not a fan of like a formal timer.
Yeah.
I think maybe a nudge from a referee saying it's not going to happen, mate. Or maybe I'm reluctant to say the referee should be able to judge and call time on a frame, but I think that should be down to the players to decide. But I think maybe there should be a little nudge saying, you know, let's wrap it up.
Yeah, I don't think they can have that power though. Like, that's not for them to say. But Mark Selby said like he would be happy with like 3.
Maybe a limit on. Yeah, if you need more.
If it's 3 or less, he's happy to go for it. But more than that, it's just like unrealistic, really. Yeah. And also, just like, you know, how far can you take it? You know. Anyway, moving on. Should they scrap the miss rule?
I'd be interested to know what the most amount of snookers got to win a frame is.
Yeah, I know Ronnie's got 5 back to win a frame before and stuff, and like,
it doesn't happen often, does it?
No, Neil Robertson said he's had 5. I'm sure it's loads. I'm sure Steve Davis got loads or something. But anyway, this is the best one, I think. Should they scrap the miss rule? This is the one that pisses me off the most. By a mile.
It is an odd rule. But
for anyone that doesn't know what we mean, shall I explain it?
Yeah, go on, explain it, yeah.
Basically, the misrule is that if you miss, the ball gets put back, right? And that was put in place to stop people basically doing... basically cheating the game, abusing the rule. People were missing by absolutely miles. So they put in this miss rule where if you actually missed, you'd have to have another go at it. So there's no incentive to actually miss in the first place. So the player can put you back in. And now it's gone full circle in 20 years' time where people are missing by absolutely miles to sort of gauge, because there's no consequence really apart from 4 points. That's nothing really. To gauge it, and then are playing very, very thin safety shots to sort of and there's no risk involved, and basically they can just keep getting put back in. Here's Neil Robertson said, players have figured it out this is really good actually, over the last 20 years, they figured out very clever ways of playing safety shots. There's no danger. They actually abuse the miss rule in their favour. Missing the red on purpose, see if the table rolls off. And it's the same problem with the 2 cushion escapes. If you can see, this is what he said, if you can see a red directly and you take that risk to come off 2 cushions and you miss, the opponent should get ball in hand. It would speed the game up, because I abuse the rule myself, he says. You shouldn't be in a situation where you are allowed to miss a ball on purpose. Yeah, I fully agree.
I like that. I like that as a rule.
He speaks so well, Neil Robertson.
He does, yeah. I mean, I just love Neil Robertson.
Do you want to hear Mark Selby say something stupid?
Yeah.
Thick and stupid. This is the definition of thick and stupid. He said, sorry Mark Selby, but this I don't understand this quote in the slightest. This is about the miss rule. Matthew Stevens, he was watching a game between Matthew Stevens and Wu Yeezer in qualifying. So Matthew Stevens in qualifying was in a really tough snooker. He's got to come off minimum 3 or 4 cushions, and he's missed it 8 or 9 times. But one of the times he missed it by next to nothing. And the ref still called it a miss. He's more or less saying the only time he's not going to call a miss is when he hits it, which is a bit harsh.
Well, that's the rules.
No, it's not harsh, Mark.
Yeah.
It's not harsh, because you've not hit the ball.
I think the miss rules are really tricky, because like you just said, it was put in place because people were deliberately missing balls.
Yeah, but they are again, though.
In the same way. So if you take it away, then you're back to the beginning. So I think. But
that's not the thing. We're not taking it away.
Spot on again.
Yeah, he is. He's spot on. Basically, he's saying if you can see a red full ball and you are taking that risk to go off 2 cushions, instead of playing that full ball red, which you could, then you should the opponent should get ball in hand if you miss. And I think and it would stop people going for those shots, and it would mean they'd have to actually play an attacking safety shot, which has totally left the game. And we have a lot more, we had, what was that frame against Vafai and Williams where there was 3 re-racks?
Yeah, 3 re-racks.
That's not interesting. And it's because they were all playing those types of just thin safeties constantly.
Yeah, but in commentary they call it tippy-tappy snooker, don't they?
Yeah, they do. And a lot of people don't like it. And I get why, because it's just not very fun to watch. Yeah. Barry Hawkins, the Hawk himself, totally right wing, said on the misrule, I like the misrule. Nothing else to say, just I like the misrule. I like the misrule. I like the misrule. Shall we talk shot clocks?
Yeah, don't like them, don't want them.
Don't want them. Again, Sean Murphy, so unbelievably enthusiastic about shot clock. 30 seconds a shot is just boring. In a world of Netflix and Amazon, it's stupid that we don't have a shot clock. So he's saying he wants shot clocks less than 30 seconds. Neil Robertson...
That's mad, because that's just entering snooker shootout territory. You're entering the realm of pool there, and I don't like pool.
Well, actually, Barry Hawkins, on that same... What did he say? No, just no. It's not 9-ball.
I get pool videos come up on my Instagram a lot.
Yeah.
And every time there's one guy that comes up a lot, which is he goes to pool clubs and he plays like locals. At
yeah, seen him knocking about.
Every time I think there's no competition in pool, because if you break, you win the match.
If you're good, if you're any good,
you break and you clear up and you win the match.
I think the actual skill in pool is
that?
Yeah, I agree.
And they wear those stupid little gloves,
fingerless.
Yeah, and
I agree. Stupid
actually,
gloves.
Anthony McGill wore one at the World Championship. It pissed me off beyond belief.
Yeah,
it's like that.
I agree.
If you start helping that, that's when I'll start saying the game's gone.
The game's
gone.
Wearing
stupid little gloves. Get a life.
Do you want to hear Neil Robertson's opinion? His perfect opinion on the shot clock.
I think we should make Neil Robertson's perfect opinion a regular feature.
Yeah. Well, this is the first edition of Neil Robertson's perfect opinion.
Yeah.
Talking about shot clocks. This is immediately after Sean Murphy says we should have buzzers going off. You know, we live in a world of Netflix and Amazon. Neil Robertson, a shot clock's a tough one. This is why I think he's so well spoken, and he actually has really good ideas. A timer going off in a multi-table setup, like at the Crucible, beep going off. You just couldn't do that.
Yeah,
the referees could probably have a look at someone's average shot time in the interval and say, okay, this guy's actually behind. Similar to how they do in golf. Say you're taking a considerable amount of time. Say to them, can you speed things up a little bit, please?
Yeah.
Perfect. Easy.
I think
solved.
that's fair enough. I think that I don't know. Was it Mark Selby or someone raised the fact as well that not every snooker player can play quickly.
Yeah.
It's just not
I do think every player can play faster than 30 seconds though.
No, I think that absolutely, but it puts pressure on shots. People miss easy pots.
Yeah.
You know, I think so. For example, like the snooker shootout, I think is a good event. It's entertaining. It's something different on the tour, but
I hate that they shout constantly.
Should not be a ranking event.
No, it shouldn't. No way.
And the shouting's a bit irritating. It's
well annoying.
I'd be interested to go just to experience it, but I think it's good as an entertainment for its entertainment value, but I don't want to see those sorts of things creep into the actual game of snooker.
Yeah. New one. So that's another Neil Robertson solve. Because I think that would really work. If you're over 30 seconds a shot at the interval, you could just be like, can you try and get it a little bit quicker? Yeah. It's not every shot. Most players will play 2 or 3 shots within 40 seconds and then maybe take 40 seconds on and like it is at the average. Ronnie O'Sullivan lives in a dream world. He's up at like 16, 17 seconds a shot. That's unrealistic. That's not what we're asking for. No. What we are asking for is people just like not taking that lot. Like it is an entertainment sport at the end of the day, and you can't be taking average like shot 30 seconds. Like there was one in the Grand Prix that was just 33 seconds a shot. Fuck me. It was John Higgins actually.
Can we talk about what Neil Robertson said about the dress code?
Yes, dress code. I've got the quote here if you'd like me to read it out.
Neil Robertson's perfect opinion.
Yeah, if we're looking at targeting a younger generation, my son doesn't look at a snooker player and say, geez, I want to wear a waistcoat and a bow tie one day.
Yeah.
There you go. And he basically said that in the Triple Crown events, he's happy to wear a bow tie.
And he compared
I think that's perfect.
He compared it to Wimbledon, didn't it? It keeps the sort of the ceremony, the sort of the ritual almost of it, and it keeps. Because
Wimbledon,
I think that elevates those events a bit further above the other tour events as well. It puts a bit more importance on.
The Triple Crown events, you wear a suit.
Up for that, yeah.
I actually also thought of another problem with the fact that they don't wear like t-shirts or like let's say polo shirts, because I actually don't think they look any less smart when they wear those polo shirts.
No, I think
doesn't bother me in the slightest.
And also the only thing about like just wearing t-shirts is that if they're not tucked in, then they'll dangle on the balls maybe. But
I think all of them would tuck in. I don't think there's any.
I don't think there's. Yeah.
But you can't buy. I know this sounds like we're trying to commercialise snooker to make it into darts, but I'm not. I just think there is a line somewhere. You can't buy merch. There's no merch in snooker really. You can buy their cue. It's quite a shit bit of merch really. But my point is,
I don't know. I feel like I'd feel like a bit of a div rocking up to the snooker club with like a players cue.
Yeah. I've got an Alex Higgins cue. It's my dad's old one. That's badass though. So that's cool. Yeah,
but I don't know, if you rocked up to the snooker club with showing off your Sean Murphy
Ronnie O'Sullivan. I agree.
Like you're a bit of a dick, mate.
But like clearly at the darts, when people are at the darts, the amount of people that are in Michael Van Gogh tops, the amount of people, and like I'm not saying anyone should wear green, but is it in the law that they have to wear black? I don't think is.
Well, no, because you have like Chris Wakelin who was in that rubbish grey suit.
Yeah, right. Here's my point. Why do they have to all wear black polo shirts? I think it would be really nice to sort of associate some colours with some players.
I guess so.
Like
it
would. Yeah, because like
to an extent, like Mark Allen has his green on the back of his waistcoat.
Yeah, but that's as much as he can get away with. I do think you can't buy merch if they had sort of not personalised again like darts players. It would be a lot classier. But like also like what would be the harm if, especially at something like the shootout, in having loads of like if everyone had their own, like if Neil Robertson came out in like a Australian like something, like it'd be cool, it would be fun, and he might sell a few like Neil Robertson shirts, which the money would go to the WST, like, and like it would be good. I'm gonna
say it now, I wouldn't buy one.
I'm trying to think whose I'd buy. I'd have a Dominic Dale Spaceman top though. I really would.
Actually, no. Yeah, scratch it off. I'd buy that.
Do you know what? I actually would. If Dominic Dale rocked up to, I know he's retired, but the seniors, which is going on at the moment.
Yeah.
He's won his first game in that, actually.
Was he competing in the seniors?
Yeah, he's just won his first game. He's going to meet Joe Perry in the next round. So, yeah, that'd be quite a good game, actually. Yeah. It's at the Crucible. I didn't...
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, if Dominic Dale had like a space-themed top on, he'd love it. He'd fucking love it. Maybe he wouldn't have retired. Anyway... I just think there's so much room for improvement.
Yeah, and I think the big thing with the dress code is what Neil Robertson said, is that it doesn't really help appeal to a younger generation of snooker
also
players.
Like it's nothing about it's cool. I'm a big cricket fan. This might have come up in the past. But like even the tops in cricket, I'm like, oh, that's a nice top. That's a nice kit. There's a new kit every year. When Everton release their new kit, I'm interested. I want to see what it's like.
I'm a bit the opposite. I think that's my quite left wing political views. In that I don't like it when clubs release a new kit every year. I think it's exploiting fans.
Nah, I'm here to be exploited.
I was like, I'd come up with a nice kit, keep it for a couple of seasons.
Nah,
but
that is...
and then.
Never going to happen, Ben.
Well, especially with like away kits and third kits. When you come out with 3 new kits every season.
It's
ridiculous. But I mean...
What's Liverpool's third kit like?
You know what? I don't even know.
I always forget which circumstance the third kit's needed.
It's like an alternate kit if like the away kit clashes with a home kit. But like... Just design your kits properly so they don't...
Can't you just wear your home kit then?
Yeah, well you can. That's the thing. It's like, I don't really understand what it's for. Anyway.
Yeah.
But I think the waistcoat as well is a bit of a... I don't know whether it's a bit of a... It creates almost a bit of a class divide as well, where if you're from a lower income background...
It's not a good look. It's unachievable.
It is unachievable.
Also, it's the shoes that people have a lot of problems with.
Waistcoats, dress shoes, and stuff. It's an expensive thing to buy. If you're a young kid who's starting to compete at amateur events, because I think amateur events have that dress code as well.
Yeah,
and you can't afford it. It's a problem, isn't it? But
Yeah, but if I don't know if they would be leaning into it too much. I would absolutely love if in the shootout, I'm using him as an example because I think he'd be quite down for it because it's funny. Neil Robertson walked out in like a dark green with a little bit of yellow somewhere, very classy. And on like the back it said like the Thunder from Down Under, and he had a number on it and stuff. I think that'd be sick. Yeah. I don't see what the problem that would be. It adds a
bit of something else to the game, I suppose.
It does.
But yeah, I like the idea of keeping the dress for the Triple Crown events.
Yeah, 100%. But I don't see why the WST wouldn't want to sort of try and improve the sort of promo. Also, like, that would be really good for like social media and stuff. Also, probably quite good for sales. I'm sure there's some people out there that would buy snooker's one of those sports where actually people do support actual people.
Yeah,
it's a strange one.
Yeah.
Like I'm like a Mark Williams fan, and like I'm a big like Ding Junhui fan. Like it's not just. I'd love a Ding Junhui jersey. That'd be sick.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
that'd be cool.
You do get that, don't you? Like you get people who really like Ronnie. You get people who really. I was speaking to someone at work. I was working, and I was chatting to a guy about the snooker, and he was saying how much he really doesn't like Ronnie O'Sullivan. I was like, but it's one of those things, isn't it?
Yeah, I think if you don't really know him in the sport and know what he's done for the sport, then perhaps you might know. I think it as a snooker fan, it's less about him as a person and him as a snooker player. Fuck me, no one gets. Yeah, but I think that the dress sense thing is nuts. But I totally agree with the like. If also, it would make it feel a little bit more special if when the Masters rolled around, they put the suits back on. That's kind of nice. I think that I don't see a bad thing coming out of that. I think more people would be likely to buy merch. I think more people would be likely to be accepted in it. You know, not everyone like more people. Also, from a player's point of view, like they're comfier and more like free around the table. Like also in the like the Riyadh stuff, like that's all. They just wear polo tops in that stuff. Don't they? Yeah. Anyway, and I don't want it to delve into the world of like darts shirts, but also with the darts shirts, what they create with that, I don't know if people realise this or not, is a brand for that person. And snooker players when they wear a fucking suit look exactly the same as the other guy playing. So that there's no brand, there's no like nothing to sell about them. Like, and at the end of the day, this is not just a sport that's like for anyone to enjoy, like for people to be enjoying. Like they're trying to make money out of it, really, at the end of the day, aren't they? Like the WST are in the business of making money, and Barry Hearn is in the business very much so of making money. So like surely he'd be into this sort of like dress code thing, because surely they'd make more money than they don't sell many fucking bow ties, do
He's
they?
like the king of merch as well.
I know, it shocks me that they haven't. But I also like I
swear, like in the
80s,
he was flocking Steve Davis duvet covers and stuff.
Yeah, 100%. I'm shocked it hasn't evolved more than it has. Steve. Yeah.
Or
as
like John
sort
Parrott
of
bath bombs or something like that. I don't know.
Honestly, there's loads of stuff. If you went to watch the snooker anywhere, and there was a stand with all the different snooker players, like, tops up and stuff.
Well, I think they do have that. There are little bits of merch and stuff that you can get, but most of them are just general sort of World Championship themed. You do see people in the crowd and stuff with T-shirts on, but I think they're all sort of unofficial. I saw one.
I want one.
I saw one with a big "Where's that cue ball going" T-shirt and stuff.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, but like that might be a WST thing anyway. But also,
Maybe,
I think another one that would sell very well is like obviously Mark Williams would have his own brand on it.
Yeah,
it would have the big MW on the back, cool as fuck. Maybe a Welsh flag or something like. That's like a really cool thing. I think like who else would be rocking stuff? Mark Allen's. Anyone that's like everyone is proud of where they come from. Everyone. In some way, all the snooker players I can think of, they're probably proud where they come from.
Yeah.
And if it's like England, they can get quite specific. Karen Wilson could have he's got his own logo as well, doesn't he? He could have that on. Like, I just think it would. I don't see a downside to that at all. The more I've talked about it, the more I'm thinking like actually that's a really good idea.
Shall we end by?
I've got something for the end.
Have you got something? I was just going to say, going back to the World Championships. Zhao Xintong winning. Do you think he very early to call it, stands a chance to beat the Crucible Curse?
Honest, first opinions right at this very second, no. I've got a feeling, I see the what curse we haven't mentioned at all, which is like a really freaky curse, the Ding Junhui curse.
The Ding Junhui curse. No.
Have you heard about this?
No.
Have you actually not heard about this? Because this is nuts. I can't believe. It's getting weird now.
Can I have a wee before you tell me about the Ding Junhui curse?
Yeah, I also need a wee. This is great.
Wee break.
Two secs.
Ooh, right, we're back. Speaking of actually we've just been for a wee. Speaking of wees,
if you didn't see that smooth edit, we just went for a piss.
Speaking of wees, in those interviews as well, he spoke briefly about bathroom breaks.
Oh, well, yeah,
I don't like calling it bathroom breaks. We're not American. Toilet breaks. And
Neil Robertson said, this is a good quote, he said they used as tactical breaks.
But yes, and
oh, is this about him standing in the urinal next to someone?
And he said, often players don't need to use the toilet. I've stood next to players at the urinal. They have their flies down and just trying to squeeze a few drops out. I'm like, well, maybe they've got stage fright, Neil, because you're staring at their cock.
Yeah, stop staring at their cock. Maybe that's normal in Australia.
Maybe it is, yeah.
Where are you off?
I'm just closing my door.
Right. So speaking of curses... Right.
Yes. Yeah.
Speaking of curses, have you heard of the Ding Junhui curse?
I've not heard of the Ding Junhui curse.
This is going to blow your little mind. It's freaky as fuck. You're a big Ding fan as well, so...
I'm a big Ding fan, yeah.
Ding, in 2024, the Players' Championship last February, right, went out in the first round to John Higgins.
Yeah.
Okay? John Higgins beat him, and Higgins lost his next match to Zhangada. Sorry. That is the curse. Since 2024, last Players' Championship, so over a year now, it happened over 16 times. This every single time Ding played. Basically, if you beat Ding Junhui, you will lose your next game. And it has happened nearly 19 times on the run now. So think about it. Luca Brazil thrashed Ding Junhui across every single time Ding Junhui has played. It happened 16 times this season without fail. It hasn't been interrupted yet. It happened
in sort of 16th century Britain. He'd have been burnt.
Yeah, definitely.
That's witchcraft.
It is. Think about it. I mean, Luca Brazil beat him and then lost to Judd Trump next round.
Yeah. Wow.
But like every single time, that is the odds of that.
Talking about it, I was like, "This isn't much of a curse, really." It's not like I don't know what I wasn't expecting you to say like every time Ding Junhui loses, a child dies.
I'm sure that is true.
You know, but... that is quite interesting.
Yeah, up to 16 matches. Yeah, isn't that mad? If you hadn't heard of that, that's the Ding Junhui curse, and we should keep an eye on that. But here I've prepared something for the end because I thought they were worth reading out.
Yeah.
This is my favourite innuendos from this year's World Snooker commentary.
Superb. Excellent.
Yeah, you happy about this? Right, we'll start nice and simple. Most of these are Dennis Taylor and John Virgo. They just say random shit and it's hilarious.
Dirty bastards.
They're dirty dogs.
I was a bit gutted that Mark Selby went out so early because we didn't get the classic Dennis Taylor moment of him commentating on one of Mark's matches, and it cuts to Mark's wife, and Dennis Taylor always says, "That's Mark's lovely wife, Vicky there." He's absolutely obsessed. Have you never noticed that? Every time.
No, I've never noticed that.
Every time Dennis Taylor commentates on a Mark Selby match, he will point out his wife Vicky in the crowd at least once.
That's so good. But yeah, so here's one. That's a lovely length. He stroked that nicely.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good.
Good
They get progressively better. He wants a kiss on the pink. I really like this one. It's so simple. The best... he strokes the balls so well.
They know what they're doing.
He strokes the balls so well. There's two here which are truly amazing. Right, first one. His touch around the balls is second to none. And that leaves me with a Dennis Taylor, honestly, Hall of Famer.
Go on.
This is astoundingly good innuendo. He's become very good with his opposite hand. I remember when he started doing it, he looked quite clumsy, but not now. He's obviously put a bit of work into it. Yeah, that's so good.
You missed out the debacle with Mark Selby's tip.
Mark's tip. Yeah, we went over that, but you can refresh.
Yeah, Steve Davis, he said one, he knew exactly what he was doing. It's like, Mark's tip's too hard there or something like that.
There was a lot of tip talk.
It was sort of like Mark struggling with his hard tip.
Yeah, but that wasn't my favourite innuendo. This is Isaac's innuendos. This is a new feature.
Yeah.
Yeah. Johnny Carr, on a post on Facebook, Johnny Carr XLQs, posted, clearly a cue maker, finished a little bit early. This is honestly amazing. No irony in this either, I promise you. No one even made a joke about it in the comments. Finished a little bit early, so I thought I'd get this absolute beast prepared. It was a picture of like a piece of wood that he was going to use for a cue. And he said, got to be a contender for Shaft of the Year. Honestly, no one even batted an eyelid.
Next week we're going to do the Cueless end of season awards.
We are. It's the end of season awards. Shaft of the Year is firmly on there. Yeah. Johnny Carr XLQs is leading the race for that one.
Yeah.
Shaft of the Year.
He's miles ahead.
Yeah, so good. But yeah,
Neil Robertson is probably the best person to consult on that. The dirty peeper.
Neil, whose cock's the best?
Who's got the best shaft?
Shaft of the Year. We'll get in touch with Robbo.
I know you've been looking at the urinals.
Yeah, really enjoyed that. That was a fun app. Yeah, we actually talked about a lot of snooker. Like, we genuinely talked snooker for most of that. I apologise if anyone listens to this for, like, we don't always... Oh my god, I had a snooker dream.
Do you know what? I actually had a snooker dream the other night as well.
Is it worth a mention? Do you know what? Can you remember it?
I can't remember much of it. I just remember... I remember something about Sean Murphy.
That's so vague.
Probably would have been a nightmare, really. But...
Did you wake up with a boner?
No. It wasn't about Neil Robertson.
Yeah, nice.
Different story.
My snooker dream was honestly mental. And I woke up, you know when you remember your dream like halfway through the day and you're like, Jesus Christ. And I must have had some cheese or something. Basically, Robert Milkins, your fucking best mate.
Yeah, the milkman.
Robert Milkins was playing Joe Perry at the Crucible. I've made this up, clearly. And it's not even funny, it's just weird. And two people jump over the barrier with cues and start also like bashing around the balls. And Robert Milkin gets so pissed off that I'm not sure quite how, but he squeezes himself into the bucket. He like He like.
I should out Tom and Jerry.
Yeah, like he just shrinks and squeezes himself into the pocket. But that's all I can remember. Joe Perry's just stood there, sort of chalking his
Hang on a second.
like waiting.
Wasn't Robert Milkins versus Joe Perry the match? Yeah. Where the Just Stop Oil commentators.
It was. That's just come to me. They were the two. Yeah. So, oh my god, that is exactly what they. Yeah. Oh man, my brain. But isn't that weird that my brain knew that and has like twisted that around? That's amazing, actually, now I'm thinking about it. Yeah, well, I can't wait to see what that comes up as on the Spotify AI
that'll be exciting, I'm interested about the innuendos. And
hot squash. Yeah, me too. Squash. He's really good.
I've just mentioned hot squash again.
He's really good with his other hand. Hot squash. That's snooker.
That's snooker.
That's snooker.
Well, we'll leave it at that then, shall we?
I think
Send us an email at cuelesspod@gmail.com if you have any questions, comments, snooker stories, anything like that. Follow us on Instagram,
at Cueless Podcast.
At Cueless Podcast.
And TikTok, at Cueless Podcast.
Yeah, thank you very much for listening. And remember, that's snooker.
That's snooker.